Good afternoon everyone, how are you today? I hope all is well. Come back to my channel video. My name is Intan Widianti, NPM 1922081. I'm from class B3-2019, IKIP Siliwangi. In this time, I will explain about Introduce to Interpreting. As for material that will develop include first, defining of interpreting and interpreter. Second, history background. And the last, every single information related with interpreting and interpreter. And the first, defining of interpreting and interpreter. What is the meaning of interpreting? Interpreting is the facilitation of spoken or said language communication between users of different language, or change such language to target language by spoke. If there is activities, must be someone who does it. Someone who does interpreting activities is a client and interpreter. What is interpreter? Interpreter is a person or computer program that translates from one language to another, so that people who speak different language can communicate. And client is a customer. Example activities. I have a cousin, and he is English people. One day he visited in Indonesia. He didn't understand what my family said, and my family didn't understand what he was saying. But I have a ability in Indonesian language and English language. When my family talk, mean it Indonesian language is short language and English language is target language. So I will change in Indonesian language to English language. But if my cousin talk, mean it English language is short language and Indonesian language is target language. So I will change English language to Indonesian language. My family and my cousin is a client and I is interpreter. And the second, history background. The first written proof of interpreting dates back to 3000 BC, at which time the ancient Egyptians had hieroglyphics signifying interpreter. The next widely known use of interpreting occurred in ancient Greek and Rome. For both the ancient Greek and Romans, learning the language of the people that they conquered was considered very dignified. Furthermore, during the era and up until the 70th century, Latin was the lingua franca, on the language of diplomacy in Europe, and therefore all nations had to have some citizens who spoke Latin in order to carry on diplomatic relations. Throughout the countries, interpreting became more and more widely spread to a number of factors. 1. Religious. 2. Act of exploration. And the last, International Labour Conference in Geneva, Switzerland in 1927. However, multilingualism situations do not always require interpreting for some reason. 1. For some groups, individual multilingualism is a common feature. E.g., the notable multilingualism of Australian Aboriginal. 2. Communication problem may be overcome by use of a recognized lingua franca, generally not the mother tongue. 3. Certain social groups gain multilingual skill become their particular roles. Example, trader. And the last, where geographical boundaries are sharp, there might have been little understanding of the language of others who live even a little distance away. Type of interpreting. 1. Conference interpreting, and 2. Listen interpreting. 1. Conference interpreting. What is conference interpreting? Conference interpreting, a significant advance for conference interpreter, come immediately after World War II when our Nuremberg War crime trial. New technology allows experience with simultaneous interpreting, whereby interpreters work from sound from both and relay their message through earphone to listen in the chat room. 2. Lesson interpreting. What is lesson interpreting? Lesson interpreting. It has not always been seen by conference interpreters as an area of interpreting in its own right, but rather as a residual art of language work at best or multilingual warfare work at worst. In the First World War, 2 decades, several social and economic development led to air growth. The two main areas of development were in international business context and spectacularly but more perpetually in relation to immigrant and indigenous population who speak the dominant language of their society, different in role and status. Just as international conference interpreter guides their status from the related status of the client they serve, so the lesson interpreter in their varied world setting. The question of status related status is soon very influences how their role and contribution are understood. Revealing social and institutional norms will strongly affect the way in which interpreters function and understand. In summary, 1. The determinant in lesson interpreting has been subject to two very influential forces that continue to determine its status and the understanding of its role. And 2. The worldwide of lesson interpreting has been probably influenced by its own social setting of minority or majority relationship, identification with minorities and minority interests, and broader status issues. Only that my explain. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.